Good morning. My name is Hailey Burgess, and I am the Fundraising Chair here at NSFS. Thank you so much for attending this virtual Special Friends Day. I apologize for the blue glare off of my glasses here, but hopefully you all understand that's just a byproduct here of the screen. I joined the board this past fall, and it's been a privilege to serve alongside the rest of the members to help support and guide our school and its mission and values. I thought I would take a moment to introduce myself, since for many, if not most of you, I imagine I am a new face. My son, Jonathan, attends NSFS and is in moyenne section this year, the equivalent of pre-K. I've spoken French to him since he was in the womb, but the time he spent in the classroom with his teachers and classmates since first coming to Petite Section in 2018 has been transformative for him, not only in his French, but also just in his capacities as a growing, learning toddler, and that's been very evident since he started last year. I myself attended French Immersion from preschool through 5th grade at the French American International School in Portland, Oregon, and I wanted to briefly speak on the impact that has had on my life and also some of the benefits of bilingualism. Neither of my parents spoke French at the time, nor now for that matter, and so the only French exposure that I had was at school. And I know not all, but several of our students at NSFS are in the same situation. And so I just wanted to speak to the fact that that doesn't necessarily have a negative impact. And we'll talk about kids' brains very briefly. Sarah has already spoken about it as well. At the time I was at the French school over 25 years ago, FAIS in Portland was a relatively young school, much like NSFS is today, and they experienced their own share of similar ups and downs related to moving campuses and uncertain enrollment numbers. But today they're thriving on their own beautiful campus and span from preschool through 8th grade, having also integrated Spanish alongside their French immersion curriculum. I dream of a day when us at NSFS can look back at this early time, proud of how far we've come and continuing to support our students in a globally focused bilingual education, much like FAIS continues to do today. As I mentioned before, it's truly been a privilege to join the board this year and have the opportunity to work with staff, teachers, and other board members to uphold our values and further our mission of raising and educating children who aren't only bilingual, but who also desire authentic cultural exchange with individuals from all around the world. I'm sure that most of you have heard of the benefits of bilingual education that extend beyond the capacity to speak more than one language, and I briefly want to talk about those now. Studies have proven time and again that these individuals, especially children who have learned a second language between infancy and the age of 12, when the brain has that sponge-like functional plasticity that we hear speak of a lot and we mention a lot, it's a real scientific thing in the brain that exists during that period. These children have a range of other invaluable capacities thanks to that bilingual education. These include, for instance, better concentration and the ability to ignore distractions more easily, a more informed and empathetic view of other people and cultures that extends beyond language, as well as a very tangible capacity to tend to score significantly higher on standardized tests and any kind of tests in all subjects, in particular math and science though, which is of course interesting today as we have a lot of technology industries booming, particularly during this time of COVID-19, but here in Seattle, we have a lot of interest in those industries already. But of course, language, they score high as well. At NSFS, our alumni, though few in number, have already proven these findings about bilingualism that extend beyond language. in their experiences as they've tested beyond their peers in various subjects in the various middle schools and junior highs that they have entered into this past fall, most of which are actually Anglophone, but all of which have equally high academic standards like we do at NSFS. And that's one of our goals here at NSFS, is to prepare students to either continue in immersion or French bilingual education, or else be completely prepared and equipped to enter the Anglophone public system or private system. And so we're seeing that that has been successful, and so that's fantastic. My own experience in immersion led me to pursue graduate studies in French, which culminated in my PhD in French literature 2 years ago. I've taught French for nearly 11 years and consider it a great privilege to be a part of a strong team of teachers at the Alliance Française de Seattle, where we offer classes for students from the age of 6 all the way through adulthood. Much like NSFS, we have also been teaching online since early March of this year. And in spite of having taught French for over a decade, and that with a variety of textbooks and methods, I have to admit that I was skeptical of teaching online and the success it could have. It's a discussion that's certainly been happening for a long time in academia and the university system, where I taught for a lot of my time teaching, but one that many faculties are a bit hesitant to undertake. Well, now we've all been forced into that quite suddenly, thanks to this pandemic, and I think that really it's going to be a fantastic benefit to all organizations and academic departments that choose to continue in some capacity, in some way, to maintain some online classes. Not all. It's true that certainly in person remains ideal when possible. At the Alliance, the young and adult clients we have all been really pleased with what we're offering online thus far. We have kept it as close to our in-person interactive courses as possible. And in addition, the entire teaching team, as I've just alluded to, has now become comfortable with this new method of teaching, whether we wanted to or not. We didn't really have a choice. This is, as I said, also a great advantage in a world that seems to be both shrinking and still as vast as ever, thanks to the connections that we can make over the internet. Certainly at NSFS, the question of teaching online is a very different one, as this is not one course at a time like it is at the Alliance, but rather a collective curriculum moving students towards their middle and high school education and beyond. However, my personal experience with online teaching has given me a unique appreciation for the work that Sarah Jacobi, who you hear from today, in her capacity as acting head of school, has done in her role as head of English curriculum alongside Céline Bourdal, head of French curriculum, in order to move NSFS online. They did so quickly and efficiently once we closed the school, moving to train the teaching staff as well as possible before we began distance learning back in early March. While there will always be challenges as a program adapts to such a shift, and as I mentioned, of course, it's true that by and large, in-person instruction will usually be ideal for children of all ages. The response of NSFS, of the NSFS community to the program that Sarah and Celine have put into place has been overwhelmingly positive. They've managed to maintain the possibility for students to continue to experience a high amount of interaction and instruction in both French and English, while also encouraging them to find new ways to learn on their own and with parent support while having to stay home. The unique challenge of moving preschool online when so much of young children's time at school is spent at play is one that this set of teachers has faced head on. And I can certainly speak to that personally since my son is in the preschool program. Their teachers have facilitated daily Zoom meetings to maintain their morning rituals, and also have provided work for the kids to do at home and ideas for alternative activities tailored to their age. And recently, following feedback from parents, these teachers have also adapted their program even further, and showed a real willingness to continue adapting based on parents' desires for their kids. Everyone at NSFS, especially the kids, of course, miss seeing one another. They miss their routines, they miss their teachers, but I am so proud of everything that Sarah, Céline, and their team have done to continue to offer instruction and a variety of opportunities for learning and interaction. They have done so making it as accessible, effective, and fun as possible. And again, speaking from my own experience, teaching online requires a great deal of extra forethought, preparation, and energy. Ironically, much more than teaching in a classroom does. I teach adults, so have not had to navigate the additional challenges of younger students who struggle to concentrate all the time, even though, as studies have shown, these bilingual students do have a higher capacity for concentration. We're all stuck at home going a bit stir crazy. So those are certainly things that those kids are going to struggle with some days. And so I'm well aware of the additional patience it requires of teachers at schools like NSFS. And so I really urge you to kind of set aside any ideas about online teaching being easy. It's much better than it used to be as far as quality goes, but not necessarily easier. The short commute from the kitchen table to the desk or wherever someone teaches may be blissfully short, but the time spent planning, in my experience at least, is at least double, often more, than a regular preparation for in-person instruction. So again, bravo to Sarah and Céline for all they've done. The 2019-2020 academic year at NSFS had already been one of great transition, even before the COVID-19 pandemic curtailed our on-site instruction. We moved from North Seattle, where we'd been for several years, to Shoreline, a completely new area and community for the school. And even as we've really enjoyed getting to know our new local partners and creating those relationships in the Shoreline community, where we've been very warmly welcomed, adapting has not always been easy as we make decisions for how to continue offering the best and most cost-effective options for things like hot lunch, before and after school care, and transportation for families who live further away now from the school. This has been a time-consuming and often expensive task that we really couldn't have anticipated all the facets of or planned for them before the move. But all the while, our teachers and staff have helped maintain an excellent environment for our students, and we're so proud of this. As we currently face some very uncertain times in our economy, it's difficult to know what to expect as we look to the 2020-2021 academic year, but we are optimistic that our tight-knit community will work together to find solutions as needed, both financial and logistical. Coming up from May 11th through the 22nd of May, we will hold our spring fund drive. This spring, our objectives for any funds raised over the course of this drive are largely operational, considering the unknowns that we face as we anticipate the return to our building in the fall. We'll therefore focus on using the funds for teacher retention and maintaining the quality of our curriculum and programs. In addition, they will help bolster us fiscally as we look to what's next for NSFS. I humbly ask that you might consider supporting NSFS financially during this drive, partnering with our community to support a continued offering of globally focused bilingual education. I can look back and see the impact that the support of so many special friends had on my own school in Portland as it continues to thrive today, meaning I was able to continue at a place that gave me tools which changed the entire course of my life. The staff, teachers, and board members all thank you for your interest in NSFS and your support, whether that support be via your time, your care for our students, or your financial gifts. Thank you very much.